The Schism of East and West, also known as the Schism of 1054, was one of the most significant and traumatic events in the history of Christianity. This schism resulted in the formal separation between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, two branches of Christianity that, despite having common roots, would follow separate paths from that point on. In this video, we will explore the origin of the schism, the deep causes that motivated it, and the consequences it left in the Christian world. To understand the Schism of 1054, it is important to take into account the historical and cultural context of the time. In the first centuries of Christianity, the Church was one, although with different liturgical traditions and regional practices. However, the Western and Eastern Roman empires developed independently, and this also affected the Church. When the Roman Empire divided in two in the year 395 AD, the Church was equally divided into two great centers of power: Rome in the west and Constantinople, present-day Istanbul, in the east. The Church of Rome, under the authority of the Pope, and the Church of Constantinople, which considered itself more autonomous, began to distance themselves in many ways. The reasons for the Schism of 1054 were multiple and complex, but some of the most important causes were the following. One of the main causes of the schism was the authority of the Pope. The Church of Rome held that the Pope, as successor of St. Peter, had supreme authority over the entire Church. However, the Eastern churches, particularly that of Constantinople, did not accept this centralized power and advocated a more conciliar or collegial structure, where the patriarchs of the different regions of Christianity shared authority. Another key element in the split is what is called the filioque. This word was included in the Nicene. The term filioque means "and from the Son," and refers to the belief that the Holy Spirit proceeds from both the Father and the Son. The Church of Rome adopted this phrase in the 6th century, but the Church of the East did not accept it, considering that it was not part of the original text of the Creed, approved at the Council of Nicaea in 325. We must also consider the fact of liturgical and cultural differences as reasons for the split. Over the centuries, the churches of the East and the West developed different liturgical, linguistic, and cultural traditions. While in the West Latin was spoken and unleavened bread was used in the Eucharist, in the East Greek was spoken and leavened bread was used. These differences, although superficial in some cases, contributed to the growing distance between the two churches. Political and territorial conflicts must also be considered. On a political level, tensions between the Pope and the Patriarch of Constantinople, along with disputes between the Byzantine Empire and the Holy Roman Empire, fueled resentment. The Pope and the Patriarch fought for supremacy in religious and territorial matters, which led to further friction. The Schism of 1054 reached its peak when, in that year, Patriarch Michael I Cerularius of Constantinople and Pope Leo IX of Rome excommunicated each other. This symbolic act of excommunication formalized the break between the two churches. Pope Leo IX, following a growing conflict with Eastern church leaders, sent cardinals to Constantinople to try to resolve the disputes. However, negotiations failed and, in response, Patriarch Michael I Cerularius closed the Latin churches in Constantinople and excommunicated papal emissaries. In response, Cardinal Umberto da Silva Candida placed a bull of excommunication on the altar of Constantinople's main church, formally sealing the division. The Schism of 1054 had very important repercussions for Christianity. First, a permanent division. The formal separation between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church was cemented. Although in the following centuries there were attempts at reconciliation, such as the Council of Lyon, 1274, and the Council of Florence, 1439, complete reunification was never achieved. The doctrinal, liturgical, and political differences remained too deep. Two distinct traditions developed. After the schism, Western and Eastern Christianity followed very different paths. The Roman Catholic Church, under the authority of the Pope, consolidated itself in the West and developed its own theology, ritual, and structure. For their part, the Orthodox churches, led by the patriarchs of Constantinople and other cities, continued their path in the East with a similar theology and liturgy, but without recognizing papal supremacy. The important impact that this schism had on relations between Europe and the East. The division also had geopolitical and cultural implications. While the Christian West focused on the Roman Empire and the European monarchies, the Christian East remained under the control of the Byzantine Empire until its fall in 1453, which maintained its influence in the eastern Mediterranean region. The Schism of 1054 marked a point of no return in the history of Christianity.